Hello, I'm Martin Kelly, editor at Friends Journal, an independent magazine for Quakers. We do Quaker Life and Thought Today. And the June-July issue is all about what makes us friends and looks at the intersections between community and practice and faith. One of the lead articles is by Doug Bennett. Let me put him up here. Hi, Doug.
Good morning.
Emeritus. Good morning. President Emeritus of Earlham College and a member of First Friends Richmond in Indiana yearly meeting. So thank you, Doug, for coming to us here and being brave in our new experiment.
It's nice to be here, and I'm happy to try this out.
Okay, great. First question here for you today. We posted your article around in various social media, Facebook and Twitter and everything. And one thing I noticed when we did that is that some of the respondents thought that just by talking about Bible and homosexuality, that this would be some sort of anti-gay piece, that there was no way of talking about both. And it seems like we're sort of in this polarized world where you either have to have one and reject the other. But what do you say to that? How do you move beyond that? And is there a way of bridging this gap?
Well, for starters, we certainly do live in a divided world. There are friends who want to talk about the Bible, and there are friends who don't want to talk about the Bible, and that line almost precisely matches a line about attitudes towards homosexuality. And I've been thinking a lot over the last few years about that deep divide and how it maps with other divisions in the society of friends. And I've come to think that the attitudes toward the Bible are crucial to our finding some greater degree of unity. On the one hand, liberal friends have to be prepared to talk about the Bible, and some of them seem reluctant to do that. And on the other hand, more evangelical friends have to be willing to talk about the Bible in a way that opens it up and reads the Bible, I think in the way friends have read the Bible for several hundred years. Taking it to be an important, deep spiritual text, but not taking it to be the inerrant Word of God. That was not a view of Quakers at the founding, and I think it's a view that leads us into trouble. If we roll the clock back to the 1830s and 1840s, the argument in the United States about slavery found that those who read the Bible closely were pretty much all on the side of slavery being an okay thing, because if you read the Bible as the inerrant Word of God, the Bible becomes a text in which slavery is an okay practice, mentioned hundreds of times and never disapprovingly. And we wind up reading the Bible in that way, and yet we've come to understand that slavery is not an okay thing, that the deeper message of the Bible leads us away from thinking slavery is an okay thing, and you just don't hear biblical defenses of slavery anymore. So it's a little surprising to me that people will pick on 5 passages, none of the New Testament passages of which are frontally about homosexuality, and say, see, God thinks homosexuality is a sin, that's the end of the story, and don't want to talk about the deeper meaning of the Bible.
One of the terms you use for those passages is the Clobber Passages, and it's a fairly new term. I was looking it up, and some of the people, our readers, hadn't heard about it before. So can you sort of describe what these Clobber Passages are and how they're germane to this whole question?
Well, it's not a phrase that I made up. It's a phrase that has come into various discussions about homosexuality in the Bible. And of course, virtually every Christian denomination has had some deep argument about homosexuality, and many of those have wound up with discussions about Bible passages. There turn out not to be very many Bible passages that are about homosexuality, and making it worse, it isn't even clear whether some of them are about homosexuality. There are 2 Leviticus passages in the Old Testament. There are 3 verses in the letters attributed to Paul in the New Testament passages, the Leviticus passages are pretty clear, but of course there are Leviticus passages about a lot of things that nobody takes seriously anymore.
A lot of stoning happens.
A lot of stonings, pretty clear instruction not to wear cloth made of two fibers. I don't think anybody takes that seriously anymore. A lot of impurity passages we don't take. So I kind of lay the Leviticus passages to one side. The New Testament passages, the ones in the letters attributed to Paul, are difficult because there isn't, Paul doesn't use a word that is clearly thought to be or easily attributed to mean homosexuality. There are Koine Greek words about homosexuality, but Paul doesn't use any of those words. So to begin with, we have to ask ourselves, what is Paul talking about? Are we sure we understand what he's talking about? Is he talking about what we might mean by homosexuality, or is he talking rather about certain practices that pagan religions did in conjunction with temple rites? A practice I think none of us would approve of, in which there were probably abusive sexual practices, or what we would think of as abusive sexual passages. So, but at the end of the day, there are only these 5 passages. And we run the risk of hanging a tremendous amount on 5 small snippets, I've called them in other writings. Henry Joel Cadbury, the great Quaker Bible scholar, once said, how little do we understand the Bible when we take it by snippets rather than by taking its larger meaning. And I think for friends to find their way to a good place in unity about homosexuality, we're going to have to come back to taking the Bible as a whole. That, after all, is what John Woolman did in writing about slavery.
And what would you say to those friends who maybe don't want to do that or haven't done that? Specifically, liberal friends, maybe their meetings have passed minutes, they're having same-sex weddings, it's become perfectly acceptable. Why should they care about these issues, these 5 passages, and why should they care about what's happening in places like Indiana Yearly Meeting?
Well, I suppose they could say they don't care about that and they don't want to have anything to do about it. That ratifies the division of friends into so many splinters, and they can be Q1 and somebody else can be Q2 and somebody else can be Q3, and they need never imagine that they have anything to do with one another. I'm somebody who's had the good fortune to live among friends in a number of different places. I'm a convinced friend. My first monthly meeting was Germantown in Philadelphia Yearly Meeting, but I've lived in the Pacific Northwest. I've lived in Indiana. I've been a member of pastoral meetings and on program meetings, worshipped among more evangelical friends. There's something for me in common among friends. I'm much more interested in what holds friends together than I am about what divides friends, but we seem to wind up focusing much more on what divides friends. I think friends have, in general, things to offer the wider world of Christianity about especially the belief that God speaks to us today in the present, that we need to carry to the world. And if we get tripped up over small wrangles, as important as the wrangle over homosexuality is, we'll fail to deliver that message.
Great. Well, there's more of this in Doug's article online. This is one of our featured online articles, so if you go to friendsjournal.org, you will see it. And of course, you can subscribe and get more. We've had our first bit of feedback on this issue. People have been starting to get in their mailboxes, and both feedbacks we've gotten over the last 24 hours here have been good. So people really appreciate this issue. So it's an important one, and I can actually hold it up here for anyone who's viewing here. Faith Practice Community, What Makes Us Friends, and it's got on the cover a photo from the recent World Gathering of Friends, a once-in-a-generation event that just happened, and we'll have an article, a few articles, I think, coming out from that in future issues. But for right now, you can read Douglas Bennett's article, and hear more about Clobber Passages and about what divides us and what might actually bring us back together. So thank you again, Doug, for being with us here in this video chat, and we'll see you more online, I'm sure.
Thank you, Martin.
Okay. Take care.
Bye.